Nothing gives a team and its fans more hope than the return of a superstar player from injury. That's what the Green Bay Packers have in Aaron Rodgers, who came back briefly last season, but now he's back for the full 16. Does that make them the favorite in the NFC North? We'll see as we take a look at all things surrounding the Pack this upcoming season. Let's get things kicked off by taking a look at some of the key storylines heading into the Packers season as we go into our 4-minute offense. It's good to see Mr. Rodgers back and healthy in the lineup after missing the bulk of last season because of a shoulder injury. The Packers were 4-2 when he got hurt against Minnesota, and that completely changed the course of their season. Now entering his 14th season in the NFL, the future Hall of Famer knows that a good part of the team's success hinges on his health. What could possibly make things a bit different in a good way this year would be the change in offensive philosophy, which ties directly into my next point as Green Bay brought in 2 new coordinators, one a familiar face in Joe Philbin. Philbin was the OC in Green Bay from 2007 to 2011 before he went on to become the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. And bringing him back in the fold hopefully can rekindle a lot of the same offensive success that they enjoyed back then. On the defensive side, gone is Dom Capers and in comes Mike Pettin. And the last time we saw Pettin, he was the head coach of the Cleveland Browns back in 2015. He has a deep defensive background and a track record of success. Head coach Mike McCarthy hopes that adding 2 former head coaches as coordinators will help jumpstart both sides that were in a desperate need of new voices. If there was a position on the offense that the Packers would love to get more production out of, it's the tight end position now. It's not like they haven't tried before bringing in big name free agents like Jared Cook and Martellus Bennett. This time they're saying all the right things as they're bringing in 2 more big name free agents in Jimmy Graham and the longtime veteran Mercedes Lewis. Both guys are expected to give the passing game a jolt and give Aaron Rodgers some big time red zone targets. Graham is looking to regain that swagger that made him one of the more feared tight ends in the game, which is weird because the 9-year veteran scored 10 touchdowns last season. While Lewis is definitely in the twilight of his career, he's entering his 13th season in the league after spending the first 12 with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Another area where the Packers definitely made it a point of emphasis to improve this offseason was in the secondary. In the NFL draft, the Packers spent their first and second round selections on cornerbacks Jaire Alexander and Josh Jackson, respectively, 2 of the top corners in the draft. This goes with the 2 selections in the second round of last year's draft in both Kevin King and Josh Jones, the safety. In free agency, they brought back Tramon Williams, and outside of him, the elder statesman in this group is safety HaHa Clinton-Dix. Last year, the Packers picked off 11 passes, and the hope is that by spending the last 2 seasons investing in the secondary, that they'll see that number double in 2018. One of the biggest reasons for optimism for the Green Bay Packers is that number 12 is back under center. He gives them a legitimate chance to win each and every Sunday and makes them a legit contender in the NFC. Not to say that one person is that important, but when you're an elite player like Rodgers, it kind of does. I know they lost Jordy Nelson, but I believe that you can be optimistic about the receiving core for the Green Bay Packers. Both Devontae Adams and Randall Cobb are still there, and they're still very productive. And there are some young options with upside like rookie Jamon Moore out of Missouri and Michael Clark, who played a little bit last year for Green Bay. Both D'Angelo Yancey and Geronimo Allison are in the mix also. They have a depth chart full of long athletic talents that they can work with. And don't rule out Ty Montgomery moving back to more of a slot back role this season. And I'm also very optimistic about the Packers' defensive line. This group was really good last year with Mike Daniels and Kenny Clark. Now they add a highly motivated Muhammad Wilkerson to the mix from the New York Jets, and they could be downright scary. The Pack are also very good with depth here as well. Speaking of great depth, you look at the backfield. Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams should thrive this season in a tandem. Now, Jones will miss a couple of games due to suspension, but they still have Ty Montgomery in that role, and when Jones returns, he'll bring that threat of the big play back to the mix. A cause for concern is the ability to affect the pocket from the second level. The Packers need to be a bit more explosive this year in getting after the quarterback. Both Nick Perry and Clay Matthews have to be much more consistent in coming off the corner. On the interior, Blake Martinez and Jake Ryan have to be a bit more impactful in the pass defense department. Maybe they get a boost from a healthy Vince Beagle, who could be exactly what they're looking for. Now, here are some quick Packer takes as they head into training camp. I think both Justin McCray and Vince Beagle are primed for breakout campaigns. McCray is one of the more versatile linemen on the squad and should push for Pro Bowl consideration. Beagle was injured a lot last season as a rookie, and health permitting, should reach his potential, giving the Pack a threat off the edge. Guys who will turn heads in camp will be wide receiver Robert Tonyan Jr. and undrafted rookie free agent Raven Green out of James Madison. Tonyan is a very polished receiver tight end type that can be a nice move piece within his offense. I believe he's got a chance to make a dent in that depth chart at that position. And Green has excellent matchup skills as a safety and really good range and the ball skills that you covet coming from the back end. Some rookie standout candidates, I'm going with Jamon Moore out of Missouri and Jaire Alexander out of Louisville. Moore's route running and ability after the catch could yield itself to him getting more opportunities early, and Alexander was one of the best man-to-man corners in the game and should be a day one stud for Green Bay. And from a fantasy perspective, Aaron Rodgers is the go-to in my opinion, and one of only maybe 3 quarterbacks that you can consider taking in round 1 because of his high level production from both a yardage and touchdown standpoint. The road to the Super Bowl for the Packers goes as follows. Aaron Rodgers and the rest of that passing game has to click really early. And when you lose a super reliable option in Jordy Nelson and add in 2 new tight ends to the mix, there's going to be an adjustment period. In order for them to get to Atlanta, that period has to be as short as this sentence. Also, the pass rush has to show up and show out in a big way. When the Packers were contending for Super Bowls, teams had problems keeping their edge rushers and defensive linemen out of the backfield. That needs to happen again. And finally, with the improvements and investments made on the back end, they'll have to pay off big time. If the front end does their job in conjunction with the back end talent, the Packers could make the 2018 season a special one. I have the Packers finishing first in the NFC North. They have the best quarterback in the division and arguably in the NFL. I think we'll see their offense get back to being a big play machine. Defensively, the Pack will be much better than most people think, especially within the front 7. I think they have enough to win the division, making it the 6th time they've done so with Aaron Rodgers at QB. So that's it for our 2018 NFL season team preview. Be sure to follow me on all of our social media accounts. Also check out and subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast, and to find other NFL team previews for our 2018 NFL season kickoff, visit the YouTube channel at youtube.com/footballgameplan and click that subscribe button.